It started on a rainy evening in Additown, the kind of rain that made everything smell like wet earth and forgotten memories. Amara sat by her window, a blue anchor wrapper around her waist, and finally wrote a letter she had been scared to write for 6 years. She wrote to Khalid, the boy who never noticed her, the friend who laughed with everyone but never truly saw her. The letter wasn't asking for love. It wasn't a request for anything. It was just honesty poured onto paper. "I have loved you quietly," she wrote. "I don't need an answer. I just wanted to finally let it out." She signed it simply, in her rush to seal it before she changed her mind. She wrote the wrong house number on the envelope. She meant to write House 51. Instead, she wrote House 15. And the next morning, on her way to work, she dropped it in a metal postal box without thinking. That mistake changed everything. Across town, a young man named Tund found the letter in his mailbox. He owned a quiet bookshop, the kind people rarely entered unless they were looking for old hymn books or abandoned poetry. He didn't recognize the handwriting. He never received handwritten letters. He opened it anyway. The words did something to him. They reached him in a place he thought had dried up long ago. He read it twice, then a third time, unable to explain why he cared so much about a stranger's confession to another man. The letter was signed with no full name, no address, no phone number. Just A. Most people would have thrown it away. Tund did the opposite. He wrote back, to the girl who thought no one would reply. He wrote, "Your words found the right heart." He left his letter with the postman, praying it would find her. A week later, Amara received it. She stared at the envelope, confused. She didn't know anyone who would write to her. When she read it, her heartbeat tripped. Someone had read her confession. Someone had replied. She should have been embarrassed, ashamed even. But instead, she felt something unexpected, seen. And so their paper romance began. They never exchanged names. They only signed with initials. They never asked for photographs. Instead, they traded feelings. Tund wrote about loneliness between dusty bookshelves. Amara wrote about working, night shifts at the clinic, and feeling invisible in a noisy world. She drew flowers in the corners of every letter. He pressed dried leaves between his pages. Two strangers, falling in love through handwriting. While this was happening, Khalid finally started to notice Amara. He began waiting for her outside the clinic, offering to walk her home, sending messages at odd hours. He didn't know why she suddenly seemed different, brighter, harder to reach. Amara didn't understand it either. The boy she had loved for years was finally looking at her, just when her heart had begun to move on. One rainy afternoon, Tund sent a final letter. "Meet me, Wednesday, 6 p.m. at the bookshop at Addie Street. If you don't come, I will never write again." Amara took the letter and held it against her chest. She wore a blue anchor dress that evening, the same shade of blue she had been wearing the night she wrote the first letter. She stood outside the bookshop door, trembling. Inside, Tund waited with every dot letter she had ever written stacked neatly on the counter. When she walked in, they both froze. It felt like reading a beautiful dot sentence for the second time and realizing you knew it by heart. He didn't start with hello. He simply said, "I recognize your drawings." She didn't ask how. She just smiled, and for the first time in her life, Amara felt like someone had read her without needing to see her first. And that was how a miswritten address became the beginning of something neither of them planned, and both of them needed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell for the next episode on Kiss and Crypt.